in the United States, many business people and policymakers measure progress in dollars and cents. Social welfare is based on a person's ability to generate an income. Yet, there are laws in the land that keep marginalized groups from participating in that effort. Now, while it may seem that discriminatory laws can only affect certain communities, they actually hurt us all. This is the Open Source TV. I'm your host, Brittany Noble, and today is about the LGBTQIA's impact on the economy. My guest today is Jordan Braxton. She's an activist, and for more than 3 decades, Jordan's been working on behalf of the LGBTQIA community. As an HIV/AIDS prevention specialist at Vivint Health, Braxton speaks out about the need for equality in America. She also serves as Pride St. Louis's Director of Public Relations and is Vice President of Black Pride. Now, in her free time, Jordan performs in drag as Dieta Pepsi. Jordan, welcome to the Open Source TV.
Hello.
So we want to talk about LGBTQIA rights. It's been seen as a fringe issue. Now, it's clear that the gay community brings economic weight that can no longer be ignored. Would you agree to that?
Yes, I do agree to that.
Why?
Because we have a lot of extra income to spend. Because we're DINK. You know what DINK stands for from economic class? It is dual income, no kids. So we don't have money to spend on like school supplies and school clothes and extracurricular activities. So we have more money to spend on products, household products, goods and services, and things like that.
Do you feel like the dollar has been ignored from your community?
I think it has been until recently, because in more commercials that I see advertising products, there are more same-sex couples in there. There are also more interracial couples or mixed race couples in commercials. So I think corporations are finally realizing the black dollar and the gay dollar are the almighty dollar.
The LGBTQIA turned out for the 2020 elections. The numbers were much higher than in past elections. Share with me the determination to have a seat at the table.
Well, of course we turned out because we were not happy with the current president. And we as gay people in the LGBTQ community, when we don't like something, we change it. And that's why we came out in record numbers, because of how that administration basically tried to ignore the LGBTQI community. We're not put on the census. It's like we didn't matter as American citizens. And remember, we pay taxes just like everyone else. You know? So, and also how all the transgender people were not allowed to serve in the military. A lot of our basic human rights, again, were rolled back. So we came out in support, and we wanted a new administration. And so we got our new administration. And we finally feel that we have our seat at the table. And as Shirley Chisholm once said, if you don't have a seat at the table, bring your own chair.
Bring your own chair.
Bring your own chair.
And have a seat.
Have a seat. I bring my own chair. I don't care if it's a lawn chair or nothing. I bring a chair. I sit at the table. I ask them to pass me the gravy.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What are some of the other issues that you're thinking about need to be changed?
And when it comes to economics, we just need to probably have a better credit scoring system.
Okay.
Because sometimes the credit scoring system doesn't allow for us to make mistakes. Okay. Because, you know, we have been marginalized for so long, is that we might not have that chance to fix our credit, or we may have had some blemishes or hiccups on our credit because of just life.
Right.
You know, and not being accepted, and maybe running out on an apartment because you were threatened by the other people in the building. There are other reasons that there may be some blemishes on your credit. So we need to really fix our credit scoring system.
All right. Now, St. Louis has a history as a niche town. The city and a few suburbs are brimming with diversity, especially in the Grove. How has life in the past few years changed in St. Louis?
Well, we think St. Louis has become a more accepting city. It just depends on what part of the city that you're in. Okay. Like, of course, the Grove. The Grove just exploded.
It's beautiful here.
It's beautiful. You can go in the Grove and you can see gay flags and trans flags and rainbow flags and bear flags and leather flags. You can see the diversity flying high in the Grove. You know, but now that's spilling over into South Broadway. You know, we now have gay bars in South Broadway. So we are growing and expanding. Gay businesses are expanding here. We have a lot of LGBTQA business owners that we didn't have before.
That is very interesting.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes, so we are growing as a commerce, as a community. We have a wonderful gateway city chambers that a lot of the gay businesses belong to.
Okay.
And that's growing faster and wider and stronger. So we're pushing for that gay dollar. We're trying to be entrepreneurs. We're out here trying to make St. Louis a more progressive city, because as Mayor Jones said in her campaign speeches, she's here to support the community, and we're putting her money where her mouth is.
We'll hold you to that. A gay St. Louis County police officer was awarded millions in a discrimination suit. He says he couldn't get promoted because of his sexual preference. I have two questions for you. Did that suit empower the community to fight back?
Well, it's funny you ask that question because I know that gentleman.
Okay, tell us more.
So I can't give you all the backstory, all the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But yes, it did empower us because it's no secret that the gay community does not have a good relationship with the police. But we're working to change that. We're working with diversity and inclusion training. We're working to, there are certain already statutes and bills on the police books that they don't know about. So in that training, we're going to talk about those statutes that are already out there, and how when you interact with a transgender person or a person in the LGBTQ community, how you interact with them. So we're making strides to open the door for education and conversation, and that lawsuit kind of helped us along with that. Now the county unfortunately has taken a couple of steps back because they had a couple of dispatchers that said some racial disparities, but we're working on that.
Well,
yes,
you're working on that.
Yeah, we're working on that. For every couple of steps forward, you always take a step back, but you take 3 more forward. So we're working with that. People are going to make mistakes. It's all a journey for everyone involved.
Do you think that suit helped decrease the LGBTQIA police brutality? Do you think it helped to decrease it at all?
I can't really speak to that. I don't know, because so many of incidents go unreported because we don't feel like we'll be believed. It's like when there's sexual assault. A lot of sexual assaults go unreported because they don't believe the victim. And when you think you're fighting such a huge organization, you don't really want to say anything, because who's going to believe you when you got a lot of questions, and sometimes even when they do your intake, they're not the nicest questions. And the intake forms, even in the jails and everything, don't allow for other than the binary male and female.
But this training with the police departments will help.
Will help that. Yes, I personally took a tour of all the jail facilities, including the Justice Center, to make sure that when someone in our community is arrested, they have a safe place to go. And we also looked at the intake forms. We changed the intake forms. We also put in with our city legal department to change a couple of the laws that are out there. So we're seeing what's happening.
Jordan, you have been working.
Well, yes, I've been working just a little bit. But
Absolutely.
It's all because I love my community.
Yes.
I love the St. Louis LGBTQI community, and whatever I can do. But when I'm not in the streets marching, I believe education, as Nelson Mandela always said, education is our greatest weapon in this fight against intolerance. So I believe change minds and you'll change hearts.
That's why we appreciate you. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
So whole girl concept is so important for us. So you hit on several, and one is the self-reliancy around economic literacy. We want our young people to understand that you really got to know how to plan for your future.
Welcome back. Employment discrimination is a huge issue in the LGBTQIA community. As a result, a lot of people are self-employed, but banks have been equally unfair and even refuse to lend. With all doors closed, how can people survive?
The reason that, Brittany, is because, again, it's back to credit. We buy a lot of things on cash. We may have some credit hiccups, and because the banks have tightened their lending guidelines and restrictions, and it's hard to be underwriting. I know this since I used to work in banking a long time ago. For 35 years.
Talk about it.
I started way back with Boatman's. And then worked my way up through the bank. And then when I turned 50, I decided I was tired of working for the man, so I got in the nonprofit world. But yes, I still stay in contact with a lot of lending practices that are out there. A lot of my friends are underwriters, and they want to lend to people, but because of such stringent guidelines when it comes to lending, people fall through the cracks. That's why we start our own businesses. And that's why we need mentoring programs for people in our LGBTQI community, so we can learn how to grow and develop our businesses, so we can buy up these vacant buildings on the north side and turn them into the shelters that we need for our community.
Oh, yes.
So it's a process, if we can start learning and how we can acquire land and how we can acquire these vacant buildings and turn them into things that are wonderful for our community, then that's when we can be self-sufficient.
Diversity and inclusion, they're the new buzzwords right now. Since the murder of George Floyd, now employers say that they want as much diversity as they can get. Is that true for you? What do you want to see? What are you noticing?
Well, the job at Vivint that I have, I am very on the front line of working for diversity and inclusion. I was very instrumental with a group of other LGBTQ, we don't call them employees, we call them champions at Vivint champions, and we got together and we started the very first LGBTQIA employee resource group.
Interesting. Yes. And tell me a little bit about that resource group. How is it helpful?
Oh, it's helpful because it lets other non-community champions see what our issues are, what our concerns are, and it's we can do a whole nother episode about diversity in the workplace, because workplace discrimination for people in the LGBTQI community is real. It happens. And sometimes we have to work a little harder to make ourselves known, to do a good job, just like being a black woman in corporate America, in the nonprofit world, you have to work twice as hard because you have to prove yourself. Because of the skin of your color. Now we have to prove ourselves because of our sexual orientation, our gender identity, our gender expression. But I say, break down those walls and help build those walls back up of diversity and inclusion. And yes, those are buzzwords, but a lot of people, a lot of corporations need to start putting, again, trans people in managerial positions. You gotta put trans people out so people can see that yes, you are a inclusive company. You can't just say you have diversity inclusion and all your board members are white.
Talk about it.
Yes.
People at home, they may wonder what they can do to help. What can they do?
What people at home can do, first of all, get out and vote. When you see an anti-gay bill on your legislature, anti-trans bill, anti-gay bill, get out and vote against it. Because we eat and breathe and live just like you, and we need those basic human rights just like everyone else.
Absolutely.
Go out and support an LGBTQ organization such as Pride St. Louis. Support them with your time, volunteer, support them with your money. We can always use extra dollars here at Pride St. Louis.
Let's talk about lending institutions.
Okay.
Have you found them to be helpful? Well,
yes. Sometimes they will be able to do financial literacy classes for us, because we do have a program called Teachable Tuesdays. Where on Tuesdays we have whatever topic we want to talk about. Financials come, we've had people talk about how to open a checking account, how to balance your checking account, what credit is, and how to get credit, and why a good credit score is important. So those kind of financial literacy classes help.
Sure. Do you think that the LGBTQIA is getting equal consideration in employment and banking, or is there still more fight on the battleground?
Well, it's growing because right now, Pride St. Louis is in partnership with Together Credit Union. And I'm working with them to do diversity and inclusion for that company. And it's the more banks that we get on board, because our money, we need places to, once we make the money, we got to have a place to put our money.
Right.
So in their advertising too, there's got to be people that look like us in their advertising, and people look like us that work in the lobby to take our money and to lend us the money.
All right. Well, after the break, I want to talk about healthcare. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Got the dopest appeal, the focus is real, and if you focus on zeal, you'll notice the seal of prophecy. Ain't an individual out topping me, and that's on my born, unborn, or entire family tree. So what you can't do is take my intelligence.
Welcome back. Let's talk about quality health care. Is that a problem in the LGBT community?
Yes. Well, let's first define the word quality. We all have health care. Okay? So it is us because, for instance, in my case, I have to have mammograms, but I have not legally changed my name yet. You know? So here they get, I'll tell you my name. My legal name is Leon. So they get paperwork from Leon, but they say a mammogram. And they're like, oh, what? Why is he having a mammogram? And I was like, no, if you look later, I've changed all my gender markers to female. So then there's always this, why do you have to go to the doctor? And then even when you transition, some of the things are not covered. So when you turn it in, you always have to fight your insurance company.
Oh, man.
To say, I need this doctor because this is part of my transitioning process.
You're advocating for yourself.
Yeah, I'm advocating for myself.
In the early 80s, HIV/AIDS was seen as a gay disease. How prevalent is it in St. Louis, and is it still a stigma for your community?
Well, it's a stigma because people still think it's a gay disease. Because
see.
I work in the field of HIV and AIDS and STIs. People still think, to this day, a gay disease, especially older black men and a lot of heterosexual white men think it's still a gay disease because, you know, I'll ask them, well, would you like an HIV test? And they're like, no, I'm not gay. And then once the education comes in, and, you know, and people would be surprised that there are more heterosexual people getting newly diagnosed with HIV than gay people.
Wow.
So it's that education that comes with my job that is important, that we get out and let people know that it's not a gay disease, it's a disease for everyone. You know, HIV does not discriminate.
Exactly.
Because of age, race, creed, sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression, it affects everyone.
What are some resources that people can use in this region?
Oh, well, if you, Vivint Health, we're a very good resource.
Okay.
We have, I work in the prevention department, so we have prevention services. You can come in and get tested for HIV, syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia. And if you get your diagnosis somewhere else for, let's say, syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, you can come and we can get you into treatment. And it's regardless of your ability to pay.
Okay.
Because we believe everyone is important and everyone should be treated with dignity. And we believe that we should take care of those people that are affected by HIV. So that's what we do at Vivint. We open our doors and it's a medical home. Everything is right there. We also try to get people to come in for care. If you're out of care and you know you're living with HIV, come to Vivint.
Okay.
Because we're a medical home. Everything is right there. We have doctors, we have pharmacy, we have a food pantry, we have legal, we have behavioral health, we have case management. It is all right there in one building. You can literally come, get tested, be diagnosed with HIV, see a doctor, go home on medication, be on case management, and get all your round-right services and never leave the building.
Oh, thank you for the work that you guys do.
Oh, it's a wonderful model that we're trying to set here in St. Louis. And I am honored and happy to work there.
What can people do to keep themselves safe while we're out being sexually active?
Well, we don't try to use the word safe. We just say we want to make sure that your sexual health is just as good as your regular health.
Okay.
Because it's very important, because one does affect the other one. People don't know if you have an STI that goes untreated, it can affect your reproductive system, it can affect your nervous system. So those things need to be checked. So we encourage everyone to get tested for HIV once a year on your birthday.
Okay.
Whenever you feel some discomfort or symptoms of an STI, come and let us test you. That's very important. And there's a lot of things out there, education that people need that are not aware of. I can't go into all right now, but yeah.
We know where to come find you.
You know where to come find us at Vivint Health.
As I understand, aging LGBTQIA people are having some difficulties getting some health aids, assisted living, housing, food services, and even transportation. Do you know of any programs that are available to help?
Well, there is a lot of, let's talk about housing, senior housing. A lot of LGBTQ seniors are not getting housing because they're being discriminated against because of their sexual orientation. And you know, as we get older, we just want to go and be around people our own age. Like I've, you know, knock on whatever this is, in a few years, I'll be accepted into a home, you know, into assisted living. And we just want to go and live amongst people like ourselves and just live out our golden years happy and peaceful. And it doesn't matter who you love. It shouldn't matter who you love, where you go to live. It's all about being in that elder community.
Jordan, it is always a pleasure speaking with you. I want you to stay right here because we have some more that we can talk about right here on the Open Source TV. Stay with us. It's interesting how money can change the outcomes for a marginalized group of people. The LGBTQIA community united and strengthened their voices. No longer are they considered a fringe group that should be ignored. Plus, in 2020, they voted in mega numbers. Diversity and inclusion, it means what it says. If any of us is to do well, it can only happen in a big tent of difference. The days of big me, little you, is over. I'm your host, Brittany Noble, and this is the Open Source TV. Thank you for watching. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We'll see you again soon.